Screw the modes. What? You really think that the only way to be interesting or any good as a soloist is if you somehow unlock the secrets of Phrygian? Then unless you do something like that, your playing is just not going to be desirable or interesting? Or maybe you're the type who feels that the only way of playing a solo that's any good is if you practice melodic minor or altered or Lydian flat 7. Hell, why don't we go a little deeper? Do you think that Joe Satriani, John Petrucci, or Steve Vai, that they are not nearly as good as a player if it weren't for them playing modally? Do you think Santana, who does like to use Dorian, wouldn't be highly revered or highly loved unless he plays Dorian? Hey, I get it. Sometimes you get stuck in a rut. As a guitar player trying to play solos, you're so busy practicing scales, you try your arpeggios, and yet whenever you try to do a solo, you find that's not very good, that it's uninteresting, it's just uninspiring for you to play. So you think, maybe I should learn the modes. Yeah, that's it. If I sit down, learn, and practice the modes, that will finally open up my playing and I will suddenly be interesting and actually good. No. Look, modes are wonderful sounds. So don't get me wrong. I love the sound of the different modes. But the reality is that a lot of really good players over the decades don't know the modes. They don't know how to play them. They don't spend the time practicing them. And yet they're beloved by millions of people. And they themselves love to get up and play. They're not bored. They love playing with the stuff that they know so well. Let's go even deeper than that, a deeper truth. If you can't make something like, say, minor pentatonic, something interesting and inspiring for you to play, then spending all this time learning the ins and outs of the modes aren't going to suddenly make you that much more interesting and better as a player. It just won't. And the reason is because you haven't solved the underlying issue, which is how to make your playing more interesting to you. So hopefully it will translate and sound more interesting to the people listening to you. You have to figure out what is it that I need to do to make my playing very interesting to me and inspiring for me to play so the audience will feel it just like I do. Oh, of course, what is actually good is very subjective. As you guys know, you have soloists and songs that you love, but then the next person says, this is crap. I don't find this good at all. I don't even like it. So it's important that you as a player feel inspired and happy when you're playing. I think it's important to go with these basics to learn those things and really learn how to make them sound cool, sound interesting, sound inspiring. Because like I said, some of the creme de la creme out there that we all know and love don't play modally. They just don't. Okay, so let's take an example. Unless you can play in a major key and find a lot of joy and inspiration when soloing in a major key, it doesn't make any sense to go ahead and take all that time to learn Lydian mode because you won't be more interesting as a player. The only thing that does is that you can sit there and pat yourself on the back because you've learned Lydian. If not modes, then what can we do to make our playing a little interesting? So then what should we learn if I shouldn't just sit down and play Lydian over and over all over the neck? Musical phrases in major keys and minor keys. The best way to do it, of course, is to get a teacher, or if you do know how to transcribe solos that you love, go do that. Figure out the context where this kick-ass solo is done. Is it a major key? Is it a minor key? Find out the chords underneath. And again, if this is a lot for you, then finding a good teacher will really help you, but get some musical phrases in major and minor keys under your fingers and know how to move them around and abuse them, so to speak. Learn both major pentatonics and minor pentatonics. In fact, if you're a rock guy, you might even get away with not learning any major pentatonics. You could just know minor pentatonics and go from there. Learn good rhythm. Feel that rhythm and the other underlying pulse and how to subdivide it and get this brain and hand and heart connection to feel that groove and play your solo accordingly. Work on feeling the music rather than playing exotic scales. So with all of this said, does that mean that I don't know the modes? Does that mean that you should never, ever learn the modes? So throw it all out the window and never, ever to be talked about again? Well, if you can actually play in a major key or a minor key with a lot of joy and inspiration, grit, all these wonderful things that music is about. If you can do that in a major and minor key and honestly say, yeah, I like it and this is a lot of fun, definitely, explore the modes, especially if your favorite player is a modal player. So now we can go back to Joe Satriani or John Petrucci. And if what they do are when they play, if it just gets you right here and just makes you drop to your knees and just thank the music gods above that this player exists. If your favorite player happens to play this modal stuff, then most definitely you should learn the modes. Okay, I talked about Lydian earlier, and Joe Satriani loves to play stuff in Lydian. I love Joe Satriani. He's one of the main reasons why I looked into Lydian many years ago. But by learning the Lydian mode, you can start to get under Joe's fingers and what's in his heart and his mind. So his songs are in Lydian will make a little more sense, and you can understand the context that makes it a Lydian sound. But this is all provided that you really understand a major key and how to play in a major key. Because if you keep listening to Joe's music, not everything's in Lydian. He would be kind of not exciting, I think, if he only played in Lydian. If you really listen to Joe's catalog, you'll hear he plays in minor, he plays in major, like Always With You, Always With Me. That's in both major and minor. So he's already mastered how to play in a major key, how to play in a minor key, and he's even learned how to have fun with these things. Always With Me, Always With You is switching from, if I remember, B major to B minor back to B major. So he's learned how to have a little fun with these majors and minors, and there's no modal playing. So that's already tells you that's why he can go and do Lydian so effortlessly and make these things sound, make the modes sound cool and sound so good, because he's already got major and minor already under his belt sounding good and able to manipulate it at will. But if Angus Young is God to you, there's no reason to learn Lydian. Really, there isn't. Stick to the minor pentatonics and learn how to rock out. Now. Angus doesn't do strictly pentatonic. There's a lot of nuances over there, but for the most part, learn your pentatonics. Learn how to play that kind of hard rock in that style, and there's not going to be there's not Lydian, there's not Locrian. That kind of stuff isn't there with AC/DC's music and Angus Young, so don't even bother with it. Learn those musical phrases from Angus. In other words, do like Angus and go rock. We love it. We all love it. Now, do I know the modes? Yes, I do. I do know the modes. And I got to be honest, I rarely write solos in those modes. And I don't really write a lot of songs that are in those modes. I have, but I don't do a lot of it. I just really love the sounds of major and minor. With one exception. Mixolydian. I do like writing and playing stuff in Mixolydian, and that's just because Mixolydian to me is such a fun song. So many rock songs are in Mixolydian, and to me it just has this very happy rock sound. It's still a rockin' tune, but there's a little happiness to it, not so much anger and sadness to it, and I kind of dig that. For me personally, though, pentatonics are still king, and they are still enjoyable to me. But I approach pentatonics in a way that's joyful and inspiring to me. In other words, I don't just simply run up and down the scale. I don't just simply do that. I add the little nuances and have fun with it. Even, for example, this. So already I've made the pentatonic a little interesting by using the little tremolo arm, and that is joyful to me and inspiring to go and play. And I stuck to strictly pentatonic. And I'll let you in on a little secret. A lot of times I'm thinking pentatonic, but I start adding notes that aren't strictly in the pentatonic scale. For example, if I'm in D minor. All right, notice I didn't do strictly pentatonic. I added some notes in there that you would, if you want to do music theory, it's called a sharp 4 in there. I even added the major second bent up to the flat 3. In other words, I took the pentatonic but made it something interesting and kind of soulful. No modal plane was necessary in order for me to produce soul. So remember, you don't need the modes in order to sound good and interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see your comments below, especially from people who are going to say, no, you're wrong. Every good musician needs to learn the modes. It's just a simple part of it. What are you talking about? I didn't get better as a player till I learned the modes. Yeah, whatever. You don't need the modes. Thank you for checking this video out. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hit that notification bell so you can know the next time I put out a video. Thanks, you guys.